Hi all, welcome to my channel Satish Vlogs. In this video, I would be explaining the concept of accrued expense. What is an accrued expense? An expense which is incurred but which is yet to be paid, right? With this note, let's get into the further details. Yeah, in this slide, there is a diagram which depicts like a cycle. This cycle is nothing but the accounting cycle. What is an accounting cycle? What are the various phases of an accounting cycle? All those details I have shared in my previous video on accounting cycle, and the link for that video I would be giving in the below box. I request the viewers to go through that video before getting into the details of the current video on accrued expense in order to gain better understanding of the current concept. Hope this is clear. Okay? Yeah. I would like to explain each and every of my concept with an example and considering the phases of a business cycle. For the current concept, I would be considering the example as a rent expense. Rent expense is a business transaction as part of my first phase of the business cycle, accounting cycle, right? Yeah. So whether this rent expense has been paid in the current accounting period or it would be paid at a later date, all those details would be decided as part of the terms which are being agreed in the lease agreement with the lessor. Okay? If in the lease agreement it is clearly stated the rent for the period, which means from first of the month till last day of the month, it is clearly stated the rent would be paid on last day of the month, which means the rent is incurred in the same accounting period which would be paid in the same accounting period. Then in such a case, the concept of accrued expense doesn't arise. However, if in the lease agreement it is clearly stated the rent for the current period, that is for the period from first of the current month till the last day of the current month, the rent would be paid by 5th of the following month or 10th of the following month, then in such a case the concept of accrued expense would get arises because the rent would get incurred, however, which would be paid in the following month. So for the current month, we need to show that expense as an accrued expense. Hope this is clear. Now we are done with the first phase of the accounting cycle. Let's move to the next phase of the accounting cycle, which is journalizing. Now, see for posting the journal entries, as everybody aware, we follow the concept of double entry system of bookkeeping, which means for every debit there will be an opposite and equivalent credit for the same amount, which means there will not be any discrepancy between debit entry and credit entry. The amount should get matches up. Okay, so for the rent expense, as the rent would be incurring in the current period, so the rent expense needs to be debited. However, it will not be paid in the current period. It would be paid at the later date or in the following month. So for that purpose, we would be crediting the accrued rent account. As everybody aware, the three golden rules of an accounting, right? What are those golden rules? First one is the real account, which means debit the receiver, credit the giver. Second one is the nominal account, debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. And the third one is the personal account, debit the receiver, credit the giver. So here the rent expense is the nominal account. What is the rule for the nominal account? Debit all expenses and losses. Credit all incomes and gains. Rent expense is an expense. So for that reason, we are debiting it. And what about this accrued rent account? Is it nominal account? No. This is a representative personal account because this accrued rent belongs to the lessor. This accrued rent is representing lessor. So we need to treat this expense as a representative personal account. We are crediting it because it is a personal account. We are paying to lessor, so for that reason we are creating the lessor. However, we are creating to the representative personal account, which is accrued rent account. Okay, hope this is clear. Let's move to the third phase of the accounting, which is ledger posting or ledger creation. Okay, what is this all about? For whatever the journal entries we are created as part of journalizing, for all those journal entries, a ledger accounts would be created in the third phase. So how many journal entries are there? How many journal accounts are there? There are two journal accounts. What are those accounts? Rent expense account and the other one is the accrued rent account. So for these two accounts, we would be creating the ledger accounts as part of the first phase. Okay, and the entries would be posted in the respective ledger accounts. What are those respective ledger accounts? Rent expense account and the other one would be the accrued rent account. Okay, hope this is clear. Let's move to the fourth phase of the accounting, which is trial balance. What is a trial balance? This is nothing but the summary of all the ledger accounts. How many ledger accounts we have created in third phase as part of the third phase? Two accounts. What are those accounts? Rent expense account and the other one would be the accrued rent account. So the balances pertaining to those two ledger accounts would be shown as part of the trial balance. Okay, the trial balance would get matches up because as we have been following double entry system of accounting, there will not be any discrepancies in the balances. The debit should match up with the credit balance. Okay, now let's move to the last phase of the accounting cycle, which is financial statements. Okay, this rent expense is an expense, right? So it will directly hit the income statement as a debit. Okay, what about this accrued rent? Accrued rent, we have accrued it, but which is yet to be paid, which means liability to the organization or entity. So in the balance sheet, we should show this accrued rent under the current liabilities, under liabilities in the balance sheet. Okay, hope this is clear. With this, I hope everybody are clear what is this accrued expense, how this accrued expense needs to be treated in the financial statements. If you guys really like of this video, request you to like it and share it to your friends and subscribe my channel for more videos. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.